Stories of the World, it's a massive project aimed at bringing together young people with an interest in local history, fashion and textiles, and creating a record of the Northwest's rich heritage. 6 of the region's museums have come together to make the project happen. I'm joined now by David Chadwick from the Renaissance Northwest and local student Melissa Cook. How are you?
Alright, thank you.
Melissa, what have you found out so far then?
Well, I found out that cotton comes from a plant, not a sheep. I found out basically where the heritage has come from, really, and that Lancashire was the main important part of cotton.
Burnley, the area's largest town with 83,000 people, lies on a network of modern road, rail and canal communications, bringing all parts of the country within easy reach. 25 miles to the west are the extensive dock facilities of Preston. 25 miles south is the inland port and industrial capital of the north, Manchester. Within 50 miles lies the arc of Liverpool, Crewe and Sheffield.
Do you know how cotton's produced?
By when farmers go and do the sheep, is it? And they get it and they do it with them brushes, it was like the olden days. And they used to brush it and then they do that and then they,
Do you think the industrial heritage of Burnley has anything to do with life in Burnley today and with your life?
Tell you what I was thinking.
The young people all came from different places in themselves as well, and where they were on their own journeys, and some of them needed to discover about their families, and I think that was very important that they've been able to look into their own family history.
Right, go back as far as you can with your own family to look at parents, grandparents, at what jobs they did. Right, so that's what we want to try and build a picture of the work that people were doing.
My great-grandma was a weaver and my great-granddad was an engineer, so he kept all the machines running.
My grandma used to work in pubs. She owned mines.
I find that family heritage takes us to Germany, where? South Africa, but then also Ireland and Scotland. And people who've worked in the army, in the police, but also further history, even older generations who worked in the mills.
I think the major part about the museums, that it broke down the barriers to young people accessing those museums, and they found that the museums were a place for them as well.
Wow. This is called Whittaker's Mill, and it used to be a cotton condenser spinning mill.
Softer than that, isn't it?
Yeah. That stuff has been through, it's called soft waste, and it's been through some processes, but it's not had a twist put in it. So it's still dead soft, and you could pull it apart. This thing is called the 6-cylinder Devil. And it was the name that everybody knew them by, and they roared. And that was why this place was called the Devil Hole. John is our technician.
Hey,
John.
You all right?
John can repair and get going any of these machines and...
And break them.
And break them. And knows exactly what he's talking about because John has worked in the textile industry all your working life, haven't you?
Yeah, I've just been working it out for 48 years. So if you're a young girl with long hair, you'd have to tuck your hair under your hat. Otherwise, some of the machines might get hold of your hair and rip it off your head. That's what happened to me. We're going to run this in and out twice, and it will make 3/4 of a mile. There's another one there, so if that one ran in and out twice, that's 1.5 miles. And it's going to do that 4 times a minute, so these two will make 3 miles a minute.
And the farmers, in the winter, when they couldn't get out onto the fields, they would make woolen cloth in their own cottages.
They don't like the smell of cow cat.
It's not cow fat, not sheep poop, it's not cow fat.
It smells better than cow cat.
Keep going and thinning out that wool so that you've got your yarn. Now the trick with this is to keep this spinning. Which way? You go around that way.
Queen Street, it's the world's last steam-powered weaving shed. But at one time, Burnley was the weaving capital of the world. There were more power looms in Burnley than the rest of Europe combined. And this drove the whole mill. It was installed in 1896. It changed its name in 1918. It's called Peace. So all the looms are belt driven from the overhead shafts, yeah? And they're organised in sets of 2, 4, 6, 8. And one weaver had to manage anywhere between 4 and 6, sometimes all 8 at once.
You're not normally allowed in this bit.
No, this bit would really good.
When the shuttle goes from one side to the other and puts one wet thread between the warps, weavers called that one pick. These wove at about 120 picks to the minute. So this shuttle is being knocked backwards and forwards at about 70, 80 miles an hour. At one time, Lancashire, or the Northwest, clothed the world in cotton.
I'm Colin Stevens, I'm a weaver, I've been a weaver all my life.
How poor were the people when you were a child, and what ways were it different from today?
Textiles were booming then, well not booming, but they were doing fairly well in the 60s. Not as good as what they were in Victorian times, but they were doing well. There were a lot of people worked, everybody you knew worked at mill. I enjoyed my life at mill.
And does everybody know why it's called the Weaver's Triangle?
No. Because they never had any other names.
It was coined in the 1970s.
Correct, that girl. Richard Catlaw, the Burnley editor of the Burnley Express, coined the title. The reason is that we're on the Leeds and Liverpool Canal.
Through the area runs the Leeds-Liverpool Canal. This stretch linking coal mine with power station.
We are 60 feet above Burnley. Burnley goes like that. It's like a saucer. And they weren't going to bring the canal through here. So they start digging in Liverpool, they start digging in Leeds, and Burnley's right in the middle. So in 1796, remember that date, I shall be asking questions later, they started to build an embankment across this saucer, which is Burnley. And as far as we know, there is no other property like this in the world. This is a one-off. And so that's Slater Terrace. It's sort of world famous for Burnley, if you like. And of course, they're right next to the actual factory. You see, you've got George Slater's clock tower mill there, which is now collapsed, and then this other mill here. Now, how many of those chimneys do you think there were in Burnley in 1880? Have a guess. A lot. Now, this is one that Fred Dibner didn't get. He got a lot of them, did Fred. But in that house, as I say, is the steam engine. It's now powered by electricity, which provides the power to then turn the looms, right?
So what do you know about the mills in Burnley?
What do I know about the mills? It'd be easy to tell you what I don't know about the mills. Well, of course, at one time, Burnley was probably the most important cotton weaving town in the world.
Welcome to Manchester. Right. Sorry I'm not taking you to Primark, but Manchester, right, used to be just a small township, right, tiny little place before the Industrial Revolution. And then during the Revolution, it became a major cotton town, like Burnley. All the workers lived in Ancoats, right? So this is where we are now, is Ancoats, and it became the world's first suburb. Right, so industrial suburb. This is the Beehive Mill, Right, this is really different than all the other mills around here, because what they did in here was they rented you space, right? So small family businesses, smaller people could rent machinery, they could rent some power. Everything was steam powered, and in here they had their own basin of the canal. Massive, massive wealth. All disappeared. We lost over 150,000 jobs basically overnight. I want to read you a little poem which somebody wrote about Ancoats, which I think sums it up. So, I knew Ancoats, knew it well. There's lots of stories I could tell. When I wanted to go to sleep, I never counted all those sheep. I counted the shunting of each train, the patter of the rain on our window pane, then wake up early to the horses' hooves, noisy pigeons on our roofs. In our whitewash yard that let light in, hung our bath made of tin. Not for us, drugs or dope, just thankful for a wash in carbolic soap. Though we didn't have lots of money, we had bags of love spread like honey. There's only one more thing to say, here's to our mums and dads of yesterday. And to me, that sums up, you know, there's a lot of love here, and it was a really big art. You know, and we've had 20 years of regeneration, trying to put some, you know, this was a beating heart of Manchester, trying to put something back into that heart. And I don't know about you, I don't think they've got there.
It was fascinating to see what bits they picked up on, and especially on the tours when we went round and when we came back. All the things they remembered fascinated me, because I wasn't sure if they were paying attention or not, to be honest. But then when we got to that session and they were throwing out names of all the things they'd seen, and that showed that they were achieving that.
Big one of them, it's like that big, and it's like longer than me, and it's got loads of like sparks out there, first and upwards.
But not on second floor. Does it make sparks?
No, sparks.
Spikes?
Sparks, so when you got your cotton, it grabs it and threads it through.
It was just showing different stages within the combing and carding process. We had two machines at the back there, a machine and someone hand carding. One was a hand carder.
Yeah.
This girl here, he was manning this set of machines at the front. But unfortunately a fire broke out on the last machine, which our inspector didn't realise and suffered an asthma attack.
Good evening and welcome to the Spinning Sheds of Helmshire Textile Museum. Now what we're going to do tonight, we're going to present to you the spinning process using the machine that you see here in front of you. Now this machine is called a spinning mule. It's so called because it was a hybrid of two original machines, Arkwright's water frame and the spinning jenny. Now if we turn the machine on, you can see that there are three processes to the spinning using the spinning mule. The thread is drawn out. It is then spun as it is drawn out, and as the thread returns, it is then wound on to the final bobbin. As we say, this is the final process in spinning. We turn the machine off again. There we have it.
Welcome to the Devil's Hole in the mill in 1942. This is how it works. There are spikes on each machine, which the cotton runs through.
Everything has come from working with the group, because this is the only project that we've ever done, or the only project I've ever done in the whole of my life, that it isn't set, because our product is a finished documentary of the journey, but we have to plan that journey, and that journey can only come through working with the group. It's the group who shape it. So each time we meet them and each time we do something different, that leads to what we're going to do at the next step. So the whole project has been completely and totally organic.
So who's actually going on air then? We're just going to...
David and Mel.
Right, lovely, smashing. What we're going to do to begin with, we've got the sports news, we're going to introduce you on air, say hello, ask you a couple of questions, and then we're going to have a little break.
I'm so nervous, feel sick.
You nervous?
Yeah.
I was going to say that, is it difficult to get young people into museums nowadays?
Yeah.
It is, and it's not new, it always has been.
But Melissa, when was the last time you went into a museum? Apart from this project?
I've never been to a museum apart from when I joined this project. That's the only time that I've been to one.
How can BBC Radio Lancashire listeners help with the project?
Well, certainly with the strand that Melissa's involved in Burnley, which is a film which will look at how young people look at this industry and what it actually means to them. At the moment, with the filming, they're at the stage of conducting oral histories and collecting people's life stories. And so far, Melissa's done quite a lot of work in that area. And what we're actually hoping for is to actually find more people who worked in the industry, who have stories to tell, who'd be prepared to come forward and speak to us and share their stories with these young people.
What was the name of the mill that you worked in?
Joshua Oil and Son. It were in Plum Street, Burnley.
It's called John Gray, Holside. I was weaver there. I've done about another 1 year. You know, I've run about 36 machines.
Part shed on Leyland Road. It's off Belvedere Road. That's where I worked.
What was your first impression of working in a mill?
Oh, it was jolly, it was good, because there were many people. Everybody was happy and friendly, and it was part of a family. Yeah, although there was hundreds of people, and you know, once you get to mingle, you become part of that family.
It were a job. That's all I can tell you. We're hard work at mills.
Did any of your family work in the mill?
But my mum, aunties, uncles, they all worked in the mill because there was nothing else.
My grandmother was a weaver of 12 machines, and my grandfather was a stoker who stoked the fires for the machines in the morning.
I know my uncle Brian was a tackler at Albert Hartley's in Barnoldswick, and he was actually offered a job in Malaysia, setting looms up over there.
What's your best memory working in the mills?
Once we had this National Front guy started, a young chap. I was young as well. He had tattooed all over his forehead, you know, Doc Martin and heavy, but he never got the opportunity to establish himself there. So eventually he had to denounce what his belief and come to the mainstream of the mills people, with the workers there, because he knew he was the odd one out. Although they were, yeah, and that was that. I should say, since you've asked that, that was my greatest moment. Although he challenged me once, and my friends supported me to confront him. You know, they were cheering me on, and when I confronted him, he surrendered himself, he says. And that was it, that was the best moment.
What do you think caused the mills to close?
The government, I mean, obviously, Margaret Thatcher was in power from the Conservative parties, and obviously they are in favour of the wealthies. They look after the wealthy rather than the average person on the street, and it was the few who benefited out of the misery of the many.
Cheap labour, and they got it cheaper abroad, because a lot of looms, when the mills closed, went abroad. They went to India and places like that.
The government was paying the mill owners to scrap looms in this country.
What changes have you seen in Burnley since the mills closed?
Well, according to the history of Burnley, there was 1,000 mills. 1,000 mills with their high-raised chimney pots. You can imagine, and what those people have gone or what type of jobs they've gone into. It's surprising. I don't know, but I feel the early generation were left out. They could not retain themselves to do other jobs. Some of them, I think, stayed on the state benefit till they passed away, and some still are, or retired. God knows where they've gone, but it has really, destroyed a generation, I would say.
Devastated. There was no real industry in Burnley at all, other than cotton.
It's important that young people in Lancashire today know about their industrial heritage.
It's always best to rely on your past or have the past present all the time, so that you learn from your past as well.
They should know what's gone on in the past, and then they know how they progressed in the future.
It's where we're from, it's what the towns were about, and I think that's what the towns are missing now, the sense of belonging.
I've really settled in Burnley because I found the people, the town, it was part of me.
Raise your glass. Has everyone got one now? Raise your glass. Stories of the World Project. And all the best for 2011.
About the Weavers Triangle and how the mills and everything has changed over the time.
Yeah, Burnley started off what it started off as. I want to know more about Burnley because normally I'm not bothered. Basically, all I know is about the area I'm living in, but not like Weavers Triangle and stuff like that. It's good to go to places all around Burnley.
I can pass that knowledge on to my daughter, and hopefully she can keep it going to eventually her children and further down the line. And hopefully through that the knowledge of the mills will keep going.
They all do history at school and this and the other, and it can be, I know it was for me when I was at school, it was a very dry subject, and I think this has really brought it to life. It's put life into the historical side of things, and it's given them an interest, something they can really engage with. And certainly going out and talking to the people and interviewing all the old weavers and tacklers and that, it's brought the history alive.
I can definitely see how the learning's going on their own journey, and they've been allowed to have their own journey, and I think that's really essential, because a lot of projects they come in and they tell them what to think. This isn't telling them what to think, this is telling them to discover what they think, and I think that's what I like about it.
The next part of the project, I'm bringing in a poet, very good poet, Tony Walsh, who I love, and we're going to start putting everything that we've learned so far into words.
Yeah. Okay, morning everybody. I'll say my name's Tony. I'm really glad to be here. Thanks all for making it out on this cold morning. We're going to be working together for 2 or 3 sessions, I think. And what we're going to be doing in a while is we're going to be finding words, thinking about the words that you've learned on your journey, thinking about words that inspires, and trying to put them together. So you can make poems out of anything. You can make poems out of your breakfast. 2 bacon, 2 sausage, 2 eggs with HP, baked bean, fried tomatoes, 4 toasts and a tea. Poetry. You can make poems out of anything. We're in a building here full of stories. There's hundreds of years of stories here, and it connects stories from all around the world, stories from Asia, from Italy, from Ireland, from Africa, from America, all come together into this building and into the places you've been. So what we're going to try and do is collect some of those words and weave a piece out of them, weave a poem, weave a rap, see what we've got. Are we up for that, guys?
Yeah.
Are we up for that? Okay. The noises. What noises have you heard, and what noises do you think people would have heard? Talk to me about sound. What's been the sounds of all this?
Banging noise.
Banging, yeah? And that's a good word for rapping with, isn't it? Banging. Getting our words together that we can paint with, yeah? So these should be sparking ideas. So we've got the words, we've got the noises. Whether you want to think about the rhythm of the song, whether you want to think about rhymes, whether you want to add new words, just see what we've got, guys, yeah?
And then the verse 1 kicks in, which is set in Bangladesh, talking about promises of a better life, similarities to slavery, try to verbally paint a picture of a day's work picking cotton, and then the end of that verse is going to end with something like end with still having hope.
A cotton mill through the eyes of a child, and these are the themes we've come up with.
stolen childhood, expected, uneducated, possible early death, hopes, vision, journey, playtime.
Clickety-clack, there and back, the shuttle weaves the cotton flack. Coughing, sneezing, wheezing, freezing, can't control your regular breathing. Lack of choices, no connections back then. Mill or pit, that is it. You can take your pick, because that is it.
If anyone's got a sense of a rhythm, a noise rhythm, or a sentence rhythm they want to share with us now, let's pick our best. Yeah, go for it. Yeah. And what?
My granddad came from Bangladesh with hopes of work and little stress, no cleaning engines, drenching sweat, tired and weary, trapped and oppressed.
Also with the links to the peace engine downstairs, and thanks to Tony, we come up with the word, well, the line, or a linking, an interlinking line that can drop in separate parts of the poem, which is, we've a future, hope and peace.
Every day when I go up to the mill, I get a horrible shivering chill. I look forward to the end of the day when I can leave my machine and go home to play. I wake up the next morning and walk out the door, leaving my family starving and poor. I count on my fingers the time it takes, but one is missing and that's my mistake.
So we wanted to mention as many different villages, different towns are in Lancashire that we could think of and get them to fit in the beat and rhyme. Right? So basically that's what we've done. I mean, it can only be said with a Lancashire accent. And take us away.
Blackburn, Burnley, Barrowford, Cornwall, Keighley, Hireford, Bolton, Nearby, Accrington.
Trudging through the streets of town, me clog iron sparking on the ground, await at mill for another day's toil among the cotton, grease and oil. My heart is heavy, my body unwilling, 15 hours for a couple of shillings.
We wrote separately, and then we put it together. So to do that, if you recall, we said a few things. One of them was that we all needed to write to the same tune for it to fit together. So the beat, the rhythm we agreed last time was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. And if in the film we see the looms and then we make that noise over the top of it, people would get that we're trying to convey the rhythm of the looms. I don't think there's a verse that you guys wrote last time, and you wrote some brilliant stuff. I don't think there's a verse that you wrote that isn't in here. But to get it all to the exact same tune, I have, as I said last time, I have had to tweak some lines. Sometimes some of the sentences were great idea, great rhyme, but it was one beat too many or one beat too few, and I've had to change the odd word. So I'll read it through now. Here we go. I'm minded to call it either Weave a Future or Piecework, spelt P-E-A, Piecework. Here we go. These are stories from around the world, men and women, boys and girls, stories with 1,000 strands from England and from distant lands.
These are stories that weft and wore, that changed the world from England's north, a tapestry of west and east, to weave a future, open peace.
The poem was a real surprise because I didn't expect that to come out of it. But one of my big worries is that one of the reasons that young people don't engage with their textile heritage is the whole vocabulary, the whole language of the textile world has gone. And there's only so many times a young person can say to an older person when they're talking about their life, well, I don't know what that means, I don't know what that means. And for me, when the group started to look at the language of the textile industry and started to play with that language and put it into the poem, well, for me, they were making that connection, and that's of such an important connection. Because if we can now encourage more young people through the poem to understand those connections and understand how they can use those connections, then that's broadening their understanding of the textile industry. And it's engaging them with what is their history.
Now the Workers' Cooperative, as the name implies...
Ah, you're recording me.
Want to see me Red Bull or something?
Can you? There's no vodka in it. No.
I'm Jackie, the director of Real Manchester, and I would like to thank all the people from the museum, Queen Street Mill and Helmshaw Mill, but I'd especially like to thank our wonderful group of the young people who've been on an incredible journey with us. For the whole of the year now we've been together. When we began with this group, they didn't know anything about their heritage. As one person would say, she got cotton come from a sheep. And you don't mind me saying that, because she said it live on the radio. But we've been on an incredible journey, and I hope some of you can actually come to the premiere of the documentary that we've made, which shows the whole process of how we got to working on this poem and what the work they've done. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed that. Did you enjoy it?
Yes.
Lovely, thank you. It's the first time that the young people who are involved in it have seen that. And I feel very proud of them for doing that. The work they've done is fabulous, and thank you to Tanya. If you want to chat to them about the project, I'm sure they'll be more than happy to do so, but thank you, you've done a fabulous, fabulous job.
Very, very passionate. Yeah, brings a lot of thoughts to about the history of the country.
They've done really well, and to be able to work together like they did as well, I think it's an achievement.
Just looking back at the poem, looking back at what I did, it just, I don't know, say for 3 months we didn't meet up, and after 3 months everything is just flashbacks. I've just been seeing, whoa, what I've learned and everything.
Everybody owns it, that's been part of it, because we couldn't have done it without everybody joining in doing their part. We couldn't, it just wasn't possible.
It feels like it's been copyrighted by us now. We've actually made the poem. It's really good to show the people what we've learned.
I've never been so emotional about anything in my life. Anything to do with me anyway. You know, it brought a real tear to my eye. The poem was amazing, the guys reading it were amazing, and the footage, you know, and actually seeing myself being involved in something like this, it's out of this world. It really was.
I'd say throughout the process it's been absolutely fantastic. So I've learned so much more. But the one thing that stayed in my mind is the Devil's Hole. And the noise now used to set on fire a lot.
People nowadays don't realise what we are now and what people were then. If them people didn't make a move and didn't hope for a future, then we would have not had this future and living a luxury life. So we should thank the people that lived back then.
To be able to go on radio, talk about cotton and show myself up. To speak as an ambassador in front of a group of people that I never met before.
Well, wherever I go, if anyone asks me where I'm from, I get to tell them where I'm from, exactly what this place has done for the community, the whole country. It's really nice knowing now.
I've been on a walk with college and I've told them all about the mill history. Now they want me to go back as a guest speaker and do a tour of the Weaver's Triangle.
It'll be really good to pass on my knowledge to younger lads and younger lasses and stuff. It's really interesting how our families came here and they build up this industry, and now it's all forgotten really. It's come back to us now.
Using the skills and the resources that you guys have to help, you know, rebuild communities and show that there is a way forward. You know, I mean, it's tough times at the minute for everybody, but there is a way forward, and using, you know, the media and using young people and actually making them believe that there is a future. The sky's the limit. There's no end to what you can do.
The young people have moved on. That they seem to know their own identity now, know where they're placed within their families now, know where they're placed within the town now, understand the growth of Burnley and what will be happening in the future of Burnley, about the textile industries coming back to Burnley, niche industries growing and developing in Burnley.
The next generation need to know about the history, what life used to be like, make them feel as though, well, they're lucky. So I know I feel lucky.
On everything that I've learned, I'll pass it on to the young ones. If I have kids one day, hopefully, if I have kids one day, I'll tell them about it and they can tell their kids. And not only that, to tell my other little brothers, just pass it on to people. And if I ever work in a school or anything, I can pass it on to them how important it is to know about the history of life. Because without history, there is no future.
It makes me feel really proud actually. Where I'm from, where I'm born and bred, yeah.
This is the start of engaging a whole new generation and knowing how proud they can be of people who, they're their grandparents, they're their relatives, whose whole lives were run by this industry. If I'd have had this before we engaged on this project, we'd have had so many more young people and we could have taken it wider. But then again, this is now our starting point to do exactly that.
Yeah, I am proud of myself and everybody else that's involved with the project.